everyone, this is Yana Smakula for SimonsSaysStamp.com. Welcome back for another Yippee For Yana video. This time I'm making summer cards. I've got a few products from Simon Says Stamp here, some old and some new. First up is this warm Christmas wishes stamp set with a Santa, a penguin, and palm trees. Now this is an older set from 2 or maybe even 3 years ago, but it's one of my all-time favorites. I particularly love the palm trees in this set, and I've used them many times over the years for my cards. And funny enough, I've mostly used them for summer cards. Here's a quick photo of a card I did last summer with this set. So even though it is a Christmas set, it is a fantastic one to use for summer. So I'm going to use the palm trees from this stamp set today, and I also have coordinating dies available here, and I'll be using those to cut my palm trees out. I will be using a few other sets from Simon, some newer sets, and you'll see those in just a minute. While I have my palm trees out, I want to go ahead and stamp a few of those to use for my card. I'm using my Mini Misty today for perfect impression and Simon's Intense Black ink. I'm stamping this image onto Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and I'm doing so twice to have 2 palm tree images for my card. I'm not repositioning my stamp, but I'm just flipping my paper to make it easier for myself. I'm going to use my Copic markers to do some quick coloring, and here's an overview of the colors that I plan to use. So just some greens and browns. I'm starting with a YG06 marker as my lightest green. Usually I like to use a YG03 color, but I need to refill it, and my refill is on the way, so I'm using a different light green color. I'm doing just simple flick style coloring here, where I'm not really blending the colors together, but rather just flicking them on. Next, I'm using a medium green, a YG25, and to start adding some shading, I'm coming in with a YG17 color. And finally, to deepen those shadows, I'm using a YG67 color. Notice that I'm also turning my paper to make it easier to add my flicks. This way, I don't have to twist my hand to follow the direction of the leaf that I'm coloring. So that just makes it easier. To color the trunk of my palm trees, I'm using just 2 colors, E37 as my light and E79 as my dark color. These palm trees are wrapped in Christmas lights. I'm not worried about those at the moment, so I'm coloring over them. I will later use my Nuvo drops to add color to these and help them reappear on the image. You can also use a white gel pen later to make them white if you want. I'm going to use a coordinating die to cut these images out, and I'm cutting them in my Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machine, which I have sitting off to the side. Just going to clean my die with a tool-in-one to get rid of the negative die cut pieces, and I always use this tool for this purpose, and we'll then go ahead and die cut the second palm tree cluster. To create a background for my card, I'm going to use the Clouds for Days stencil from Simon, and I really love how versatile it is and also how easy it is to create a background with its help. If you caught my Instagram story takeover for Simon yesterday, you might have seen a card where I used this stencil along with a leafy frame stencil and layered them together to make a background. I want to create a faint sky background for my card today, so I'm going to use Malibu ink from Simon and a mini round ink blending tool. To get a different cloud line every time, I'm rotating my stencil 90 degrees, and this is why I end up having a completely different cloud look each time. Now, once I've rotated it 4 times, I'm going to flip it and repeat. So technically, you can get 8 different cloud lines from just one stencil, and you also have 3 other clouds cut out in the center of the stencil, so you can use those as well. It's a fabulous stencil for summer and for cards with scenes, and I know that I will be using it a lot, especially with those palm trees. So here is a look at my ink blended background. I really love the way it turned out and also how easy it was to make it. Now that all of our parts and pieces are done, it's time to start putting the card together. The way I want to position the images on my card is as if the person that is looking at my card is looking up into the sky. Technically, I don't have my clouds stenciled absolutely correctly, but it's just a card, it doesn't have to be 100% accurate. So I'm placing one palm tree cluster at the bottom of my panel and one at the top, but it is rotated 180 degrees. To create a sentiment for my card, I'm going to use the 4 Seasons Sayings stamp set, and we'll stamp sentiment that reads, "Sending summer your way," because palm trees and blue skies is what I associate with summer. I'm going to deck out a circle out of vellum, and I'm using thicker vellum today from Hero Arts. It's very nice and durable vellum. It's thicker and it holds its shape nicely. I'm using a regular circle die from Spellbinders, and once that is done, I'm going to heat emboss the word summer in the middle with the help of detailed white embossing powder from Hero Arts. I really love this powder because it's perfect for nice and detailed sentiments. So here I'm using my anti-static powder tool, inking up my images with the Versamark ink, and stamping. I'm also heat embossing Sending and Your Way using the same white detail embossing powder, but this time I'm heat embossing those onto black cardstock. And what's awesome about this 4 Seasons Sayings stamp set is you can build your own sentiments for the 4 seasons. So it's a nice set to have and use all year round. I didn't do a very good job cleaning my cardstock, my black cardstock, from stray embossing powder particles, and I have a few white dots on my black paper. Now, whenever that happens, and quite honestly, that does happen often with me, I just fake it with a black Copic marker. If the area is not too big, it's very easy to color over it with a black marker and none will be the wiser. You really won't be able to tell that you had some white embossing there. But like I said, as long as the white area is small, like a dot. Now, the reason I heat embossed Sending and Your Way on cardstock and not directly on that vellum circle is because I needed something to hide adhesive under to be able to adhere the vellum circle onto my card. I love to use vellum, but it is tricky to stick it in place without the adhesive being visible. So I always try to find something that I could put on top of the vellum that would hide my adhesive. I'm using foam adhesive squares from Scrapbook Adhesives to foam mount Sending and Your Way. And once I have that done, I'm going to hide foam adhesive behind those little strips to foam mount my vellum circle onto the card. Before I do that, I also need to adhere my palm trees. And here, once again, I'm using foam adhesive. I love my cards to be dimensional, so I always use a lot of foam squares. Now let's go back to the lights on our palm trees. I'm going to use Nuvo drops in yellow and white to bring those back to life. I'm starting with the yellow Nuvo drops, and this is color English Mustard, and I'm adding teeny tiny drops over the stamped lights. I'm skipping every other light as I want my lights to be yellow and white. I'm also skipping every other one because I don't want my Nuvo drops to bleed one into another, and this will happen if you position your dots too close to each other. And the lights on these palm trees are pretty close. So I'm adding yellow dots first, then I'm letting my dots dry, and then once the yellow drops are dry, I will come in and add white. Now, I left mine to dry for about a day. I had a few other things that I needed to do, so I didn't finish this card until the next day. But I think that these could be dry enough in just about 20 or 30 minutes. So next, once my drops were dry, I added white dots, and that finished my card. So here's my card all nice and done and ready for summer. I hope you guys will give this idea a try. If you do make a card inspired by this video, we would love it if you share your project online and tag us on social media. We always enjoy seeing what you make. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet done so. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye!